Hello everyone, welcome to the Wall of Shame, where journalists' reputations go to die, where journalists have to print retractions and corrections in articles questioning our ethics and attacking us with mendacious innuendo. Today's retracto goes to David Frum. David Frum from the Atlantic.com, retracto number 362, writing that I, quote, commit major felonies to advance my crazy schemes. Frum corrected that. He said, quote, I stand corrected and regret the error. Cue the Retracto theme song.
Retracto, the correction alpaca. Retracto, he's coming at ya.
Retracto 362, David Frum. This is a tweet thread. I'm going to read it to you. This is pretty interesting. Quote, Dinesh D'Souza got a 5-year prison sentence for organizing straw donations like those at the center of the below scheme. He's referencing a New York Times article about a former Project Veritas employee, emphasis on former. And then in the following thread, he goes, Step 1, concoct wild fantasies about your political opponents. Step 2, devise crazy schemes in response to your fantasy. Step 3, commit major felonies to advance your crazy schemes. David Frum was forced to retract. Step 3, our indefatigable legal team wrote a June 25th, 2021 letter. Mr. Frum, your tweets that you published include factually incorrect information, defamatory statements. As an experienced writer, including for The Atlantic, you are well aware of the applicable standards and laws. Yet, rather remarkably, publish this notwithstanding. You may consider this to be a formal demand for an immediate retraction as a precursor to a filing litigation against you. For those of you who didn't see, first week of April of this year, a federal judge ordered a plaintiff pay us after she lost the defamation lawsuit in federal court. This was a couple years after we won. Project Veritas never loses. We don't give up. We don't stop. We keep going. We're courageous, and we're always victorious because we're always in the right. These tweets were posted in reaction to a story published today by the New York Times, et cetera, about felonies. We do not concoct wild fantasies. We do not commit felonies and have never been convicted of a felony. David Frum was likely referring to the situation in New Orleans where I was initially charged with a felony, but I was not only cleared of the felony, the government said there never was a felony. And I'm going to read that factual basis signed by the Assistant United States Attorney and myself and my lawyer. It said, quote, in this case, further investigation did not uncover evidence that the defendants intended to commit any felony after the entry by false pretense. In other words, we went undercover. We showed our real IDs. That's what we always do. There's no material difference between what we did in New Orleans and what we always do. It happened to be a senator's office. And if it's a crime to show your real driver's license and use undercover techniques inside of a politician's office, doesn't that strike you as against the First Amendment? Now, they charged me with a felony, but they eventually said that there was no felony, which means what they initially charged me with never happened. They made up a crime. They lied. The federal government lied. The prosecutors lied. And yes, sometimes that happens. That's why, as a journalist, you shouldn't just believe what the government tells you. That's anathema to the core idea of journalism. Frum's attorneys responded to us. This is Mark S. Zaid, PC, attorney at law. To be blunt, the tweets will not be retracted or otherwise deleted. We have reviewed your letter as well as the tweets themselves, and we find no basis for your claim that Mr. Frum has committed actionable libel. Quote, the substance of the tweets clearly falls within the scope of rhetorical hyperbole, an opinion in the context of published information. Imagine you getting something wrong and saying, well, Your Honor, that was rhetorical hyperbole. It kind of reminds me of the New York Times defense when we sued them for defamation, that they were, quote, unverifiable expressions of opinion. By the way, we did sue the New York Times, David Frum. We got past motion to dismiss with the judge in the Supreme Court of the state of New York effectively saying,
defendants argue that their statements describing Veritas video as deceptive, false, and without evidence were mere opinion incapable of being judged true or false. However, if a writer interjects an opinion in a news article and will seek to claim legal protections as opinion, it stands to reason that the writers should have an obligation to alert the reader that it is opinion.
There you have the judge saying they're claiming they're injecting their opinion in the first sentence of a news article that appears in the A section of the New York Times, but people will interpret that as fact. The lawyer continued, Mr. Frum's remarks are constitutionally protected and remain in place if Veritas chooses to litigate, reserve the right to seek lawful remedies with anti-SLAPP action, etc. Apparently, we seem to have gotten to Mr. Frum, and he rectified his tweets saying, quote, Project Veritas complains the above tweet is defamatory. Although James O'Keefe was charged with a federal felony, he pled guilty to a misdemeanor. Although I was charged. See, we just went over this. The federal government admitted in a factual basis that there never was intent to commit a felony. They exonerate me of that, but you're using the false charge as evidence against me. I stand corrected and regret the error. This is the problem in journalism. You guys spend most of your time offering up opinions which are untrue. People rely upon your, quote, rhetorical hyperbole and opinion to inform themselves, and that's how we manufacture consent in the United States of America. There's limits to what the First Amendment protects. If you're a journalist, why don't you stick to the facts and stop offering rhetorical hyperbole or whatever you want to call it? Just stick to the facts. We need more facts. We need the cold, hard facts, which is what Project Veritas does, which is what you don't do, which is why you project what you do onto me and you accuse me of that which you are guilty of. And that, sir, is why we're giving you an alpaca. And all of this can have been avoided if you just did your job. Stop accusing me of that which you are guilty of. It never ends up well for you in court or on the wall of shame. Good day, sir.
I said good day!
We need the news, not projection, or he's gonna demand a reaction. We need the news, not projection,